Good morning, this is Shalimar Steinberg, and today I will be demonstrating the steps for our block and XREF assignment. The first step is going to be to download the file for motel floor plan and typical motel room empty and save both of those and then close them in AutoCAD if they were open. Next, you're going to go ahead and download your PS-AB drawing and open that in AutoCAD. And this is so that you'll have any layers that you need and your title block at the end. At this point, you're going to go ahead and go to the Insert tab. And on the Insert tab, you're going to go over to the section for References, because this is an external reference that we're creating. We're going to go to the Attach symbol, and we are going to browse to where we saved the two files. I already have them saved under my folder, so I'm going to go in here. And it says all image files. In this case, we are actually using drawing files, so we need to select that or it will not search for them. You could also select all files down at the bottom. And I'm going to look for the two that I want. And there's the typical motel, there's the motel floor plan. So I want to put the floor plan in first because I'm going to be inserting the typical motel room on top of it. So I'm going to say open. And it's going to open the manager for external references. I'm going to leave it as an attachment. I'm going to leave the scale at the size that the original drawing was, and I'm going to specify the insertion point on screen. I also want to make sure that it says relative path. Relative path is necessary because that tells it, the drawing in AutoCAD, that when I am looking for this file, I need to look in the same folder that the AutoCAD drawing is in. And that is simply so that you can easily share it with somebody else. So I'm going to click on the screen. You can click anywhere on the screen that you are, or you could type 0, 0 and put it at the origin point of your drawing. So now I have the object drawn in, and if I were to look in my layers manager, I would see that it brought in some layers with it that were used for the creation. You can see that they are completely grayed out. Basically, you have the option of turning them on or off or changing the color, but you can't change any of the objects that are on these layers, and you can't add anything to these layers. They are merely there to show you where the XREF points were created. So we're going to escape out of that, go back to the Insert tab, and we're going to attach another XREF. This time, before I do that, I'm going to go to my Object Snaps, and I'm going to turn off any that I'm not going to need, and I'm going to turn on actually endpoint and midpoint to start with, and then I'll turn off endpoint for a second. And that is because I need to use my construction line layer and create a center line that I can use in order to later go ahead and draw in or mirror some objects. So I need to make sure that I'm right on the outside corner and then go down and right on the outside corner to the bottom one here, because I'm just creating a line that's going to have a center point right where I need it to. And then I'm going to go ahead and create that line on the center point. It's important to make sure that you're on the center point of the yellow line, not on the center of those blue doors or anything else. So I'm going to go over here and just straight through the object at 0 degrees. And this will be removed later. It's just to give me some spacing assistance. Now I can go ahead and go back onto my 0 layer because I'm bringing in those inserted. I'm going to go to Attach, and I'm going to again browse to where I have my next file, the typical motel room drawing. Actually, I need to download the other one because I need the typical motel room empty. That one has furniture in it, which would be nice since you're putting furniture in it anyway, but if you do that, then they aren't blocks anymore. They become part of the XREF, and you can't interact with them afterwards if you need to. So we're going to do that part separately, and I'm just going to do Save As here. Make sure that it goes into my L number, and save it, and then close this file. And I don't need that file either. Okay, here we go. And now I can go to Attach, scroll down, and there's the empty one. So I'm going to say Open, and same thing, Attachment, Relative Pathway, Scale is fine, specify on screen for insertion point, say OK. And now what I need to do is make sure that I'm getting the midpoint of this line here. And that is because the wall there is the 4 inches thick. This wall was drawn as 2 inches, and so we're going to overlap it, and that's going to make all of the doorways match up right. So I'm going to click right there, and you can see it's in nicely. The doorway and the room number overlap correctly. At this point, I could use the attach command a bunch more times and put them in, but for ease, I'm just going to use the mirror command, and I'm going to mirror the room. I will select it as the object, hit enter to tell it no more objects, and then I'm going to use the bottom edge here and the top edge here as my mirror line and tell it not to erase my source object. Now that I've done that, I can do the same thing, but I'm going to select both rooms this time and mirror them across this edge. And you want to get it nice and straight so that they're not tilted. And then I can select all 4 and mirror those. And I now have the rooms for the north side of the hall. At this point, I can use that center line that I created and the mirror command in order to mirror all of the rooms across the center line. And I'm going to do that with my endpoints. And now I have all of the rooms that I need. At this point, I'm going to erase my center line and my line on the side here that I don't need. Get rid of those. And now I'm going to use the Add Center to bring up the block library in AutoCAD so that I can place furniture in the rooms. If you want to, you are able to place furniture in one room and then copy it onto the other ones if you need to. That's absolutely fine. One thing that you do need to do is create a furniture layer because there is not one in this title block. So I'm going to go in and create a new layer. We're going to call it furniture. And I'm going to go ahead and make it probably pink just because it's different than something else that's in the drawing already. And I want the continuous line type and the default line thickness. They don't need to be super dark. You do not have to put furniture in the office and lobby if you do not want to, but you can if you feel like it. So I'm going to go into the command bar and I'm going to type the word Add Center. And when I do, it's going to bring up this. If you do not scroll, you'll see that Sample is open, and you can then open ENUS and the Design Center, and then you get to the libraries of blocks and other objects. We're going to be using the Home Space Planner and House Designer for this assignment. So for example, if I want to go to the House Designer and then I click Blocks, you can see that I have some objects here. I'm going to put in a bathtub. And I have two options. I can either double click on this and it will let me insert it like this using the insert option, or I can simply drag the object onto the screen where I want it to go, and then I can move it around afterwards if I need to. So I'm going to put in a toilet, and remember that this is a bird's eye view, and I realize that this bathroom has no door. That's just a fault of the original drawing. We're going to go ahead and let it go. And then you could draw a rectangle for the sink, or you could put in a pedestal sink facing sideways. We don't have a bird's eye view of what it doesn't look like. All right, then I would go to the Home Space Planner and the blocks that are there, and there is a bed, for example. And these were drawn at the size of a real queen-sized bed, etc. So then there's a chair. I could add a desk or a dresser or an entertainment center, various things. You get to choose what furniture you think is in your motel room. And you also get to choose whether you want to do the same furniture in every room or vary them to some degree. At this point, once you've inserted furniture in each of the rooms, you'll make sure that you have saved it as your drawing and called it your last name and BlockXref, and then saved it under your L number so that it doesn't get lost. And I'm going to update references with relative paths. Yes, and that just tells it where the file is found, as well as where these two attached files were found. Now when you go to submit this drawing on Moodle, you're going to go in and go to the submissions point, and you need to submit the original two files, these that you saved, as well as your drawing that you created. And that's because when I go to open your drawing, if those two drawings are not in the same folder, it will tell me that there is a problem and block the link, and I won't be able to see those parts, only your furniture. All right, have fun with this exercise, and I'll talk to you soon.